ecosystem of, we use the developer certificate of origin, which basically says, I am vouching for this code. I know where this code came from. I'm responsible for it, blah, 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 right? It's just you promise? I promise. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But with anything that is generated by a large language model, who do you assign? You can't claim copyright for that. So where does one assert provenance for that? And I hadn't really considered it in those particular lines before. Like, large language models do some amount of license laundering. Like, they're trained on my code. My code is in a lot of cases AGPL or GPL, or in the MIT ASF 2.0 license, there's attribution that's required. And, these tools don't do that. And so what does it mean to have your AI generated code from like developer certificate of origin? I've asked folks at the Linux Foundation, and I've asked other people, and it's like chirp, 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 like quiet. Like, nobody, people are like, if we talk about it, we're going to have to actually talk about it. So let's just not talk about it. But anyway, anywho's.
I mean, in this specific case, I'm fairly optimistic that this would hold in court, because it wrote kind of a basic recursion algorithm. I feel like that's generic enough that I can find some textbook that has something similar enough in there. But this is also where I find AI very useful, tracking some of this stuff. Maybe I can tell you really quick why this thing now exists, or you read it, that's also fine. Those warnings, by the way, they will go away once this is being used in a follow-up. I'm just trying to kind of fillet out some of the stuff from the big right PR to make that digestible. Yes, we are traversing expression trees again, in case you're wondering.
Again, Robbie, nobody loves it. Nobody loves an iter chain like like Robbie Peck. Supports the DataFusion. That's fun. Let's validate schema here. I learned something interesting in the call that I had just prior to this one that I wanted to share, because I'm very interested to try it out.
Nice.
Apparently, SQL warehouses on the Databricks platform are very lazy and will cache delta logs to where delta logs written by Delta RS, which do not produce CRC files, appear to be out of date, because it will load the state of the transaction log and cache it somewhere inside of the infrastructure. And because there's no CRC files, it won't regularly like rehydrate that cache or something. And so this organization basically is seeing when they write with Delta RS, they can read the data, no problems, unless they try to read the data specifically from a SQL warehouse, not from DBR, not from a job, launched on the Databricks platform, but specifically from a SQL warehouse. And so I'm very excited. I'm not going to do this in our time today, but I'm very excited to see that in the wild, because it's such a silly sort of behavior I would have never expected.
That's definitely something that kind of the appropriate folks should pay some attention to.
Well, you and I know how this goes. The solution that is going to be suggested, and I was chatting with these folks a little bit about this, is like CRC files are optional. However, something being optional has never stopped any large company building delta data stuff from requiring it. You know, the commit information has had to be of specific format, even though it's optional, because of Azure Synapse, Databricks, Delta Live Tables, DBR, etc. Anywho's,
I mean, if you want, I can tell you really quick kind of what the motivation is behind this, and I wrote this a little bit in there, but I can add a little more color to it.
Here, can I just? Oh, I don't have Copilot because I'm like vehemently opposed to AI, but I was gonna make an agent review this and let you and turn the AI back on you instead of me having to read your slop. Make you argue with the AI to.
Let me see. Do I need to just add that as a reviewer, or?
I have no idea how that works. Maybe.
Yeah, I can't. I don't see an obvious way to ask for a review. I think you can do like a comment or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
You said you were filleting, which I enjoy the visual food metaphor. But is it stuff coming out of this write operation work that you're doing? Okay.
Yeah. To be honest, this write operation work has put me on a journey. First of all, to appreciate kind of what we do right now, which is pretty cool in some places, but also what we can do and maybe should be doing. So what I never actually knew, but learned in this PR, is how we write CDC data. To be honest,
we talked about this last week.
Like a little tangent. When do I say CDC? When do I say CDF? I don't have like a rule for this, but it seems to be both appearing.
Yeah, they do both kind of appear. I don't know. I've seen CDF used to refer to a change data file as opposed to change data feed.
Yeah. Well, there may be some naming inconsistencies regarding CDC, CDF.
Yeah.
But we talked about this, right? So we combine them in this set. And depending on the operation you do, you have multiple labels, right? You have insert, delete, and this is not for your benefit, Tyler, but for anybody who might wonder in watching this ever. And then you have the update pre-image and update post-image. And essentially what you do is you generate this data set that has labeled data, which may be duplicate sometime, like post-image, pre-image, yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
And then we send this via streams to a writer for CDC files and a writer for data files. There is one special case though, well, maybe not special.
There's probably just not one either.
Yeah, but oftentimes we need to rewrite data, which means we're taking data from existing files, and right now this rewrite step is kind of always its own dedicated thing, where we read the existing files and then dump some data in there, or take out some data that we want to keep and maybe delete other data or update some rows, what have you, right? But we still, since we're deleting the entire file, we need to rewrite the file as is. And this rewriting step, this is something that we usually do kind of as a dedicated write step before we then execute the rest, because this data, for instance, also doesn't appear in any CDC feed or anything, right? And then the inserted data we would write as part of the CDC feed. So one thing that came up though, trying to combine the rescued data, I call it rescued data, I don't know if that's the correct term, but I feel like we're deleting it and then we're rescuing that data out of the file.
I think that's fine. I mean, it's a novel way to describe it. Sometimes you come up with Englishisms that really tickle me. They're quite novel. So
excellent. Yeah. Well, as long as people understand what it's meant. But there we may have the cases. So we allow you to write data that is, at least from the schema, inconsistent in nullability with the table schema And then we assert that there are no nulls, in fact, in there, but you can still have the data type kind of null, the field be nullable, right? We just ensure that there is no nulls in the actual data when that field is kind of non-nullable in the target schema. So, but that would mean that two data sets would have the same logical schema, but differ in nullability depending on whether we receive it from elsewhere. And kind of the unit test that asserts this is saying, well, pandas always writes everything as nullable. I have no control, right? So this is kind of flowing through other engines, and then we might still have the right data, but we might not have the right nullability. And then if we try to combine those two into one single plan, that's when we see, that's when DataFusion starts to complain and say, this is not the same. I can't combine this. And it's not kind of, at that stage, it doesn't say, okay, I'll just relax the other one, which you could always do. So what this does in our data validation, we find all the fields that are non-nullable in the target schema, but nullable in the source schema. And then we add an is not null assertion for that specific field. And we do that on a leaf level. Yeah, we add a is not null assertion in our validations, and then we update the schema that we expose to have the right nullability kind of assigned to it. Yeah, and here, this is kind of a discussion that one could have. I decided to do it this way. So I went back and forth between passing in the schema you want to validate it as, blah, 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 blah. But that would require kind of shared logic in multiple places. So what we do is we actually look at the expressions, the validation expressions we pass in to see if there are non-null assertions in there. And we do it this way because we really want to only capture the non-null assertions we do. I mean, if somebody else passes in validation predicates, it's fine, right? But yeah.
Excuse me. So, is there a strong reason why we have to allocate this string? Is it just coming here?
No, we can probably. I don't know if we can. I can try that out really quick. If we can borrow from the column name.
For primitive types we were recorded if no. These warnings, so fun.
Yeah. I didn't want to disable them because then I was fearful of forgetting to not disable them, but we discussed last week. I'm also on a mission to try to get to two big milestones in my life. One is getting to a negative lines of code count, and second is getting to 0 warnings.
Go ahead and leave this. So, yeah. Let me go see if PA is not defined. I thought PA was.
Yeah, Steve left a valid comment. Getting rid of eager snapshot is another live goal.
Oh yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing to pull up. So, can we merge update automatically? That'd be cool. Ah, merge conflict. Ooh, ow. Ouch. This is all the conflicts for the eager snapshot work. I also would like to see eager snapshot nuked. Okay, what the fuck is this? Oh, these are debugs. Do I? This looks like it is the test failure. I'm going to take this ticket away from you. Not this one. You can. I'm going to assign this one to you because you and Steve need to figure it out. Actually, you need to help Steve. Not Steve needs to figure out. You need to help Steve because we've all been patiently waiting for Robert to stop changing every file in the whole tree so that we could also contribute some changes. So I'm not.
Yes.
Do that. But I'm taking this one from you because we assigned it, I think last week actually in this call. Assigned last week on the presumption that Robert, you were going to fix it. But I'm going to take it away from you.
I did mention this in the Delta RS channel. I think he asked there. But I'm hunting down the same issue also in the bigger right PR.
Okay, that one's me. So your mission, Robbie, should you choose to accept it, we need to stop having so many changes that are fully dependent on the cosmic galaxy brain understanding that you have of what the hell you want to do and put things into tickets that other people can do. Because Florian's back, which is great. Eon and I have time to help. Steve is around more than just in the Twitch chat. Like there are others that can make progress, but Robert, you've had a giant lock on a lot of internals that I want to unlock before we get off the call today so that the rest of us can start landing changes.
So I couldn't agree more. Let me get one thing done really quick. PR feedback. We could avoid the allocation, it turns out.
Sweet.
And I also updated remove the other code, the commented out code that you asked.
Thank you.
I mean, this is another thing that's lurking a little bit. So one thing I hope, and this is just a side note. Well, actually, no, we can create an issue for this right now if we want.
You know, believe it or not, it's not just my computer that can create issues. Robert, you could also.
No, I'll do it. I'll do it. So I'm hoping that we have this big expressions module that does something. It's like, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of lines of code, essentially to rename an internal field from element to inner or whatever. My hope is that either DataFusion evolved enough or I don't know if we have a failing test if I were to remove this, but I hope that we can delete this now and this just got resolved by us making things more logical. We'll see. Yeah, Steve mentioning that.
I think you should take that bet, Robert, but make it euros because $20 isn't going to be worth it.
And then maybe larger to your question, how do we unlock this, right? The write operation PR gets rid of one of our big offenders, which is find files. Why is find files a big offender? If you want to navigate to that code really quick,
I know it.
I can show you, but essentially it depends on things we don't like. And things we don't like are the old table provider and explicit add and remove actions that get kind of processed inside logic. So the write PR, and this is something that Ethan already also worked on, and that we migrated in one of the later PRs. I don't know if you remember, but we now have this logical join, this join. Well, no, an in list actually, but we first do this distinct operation on the table to find kind of all the files. And yeah, this is just a I would say cleaner way to do this, and mostly cleaner because it doesn't depend on any add actions or what have you. And there are some improvements. There is an issue that says let's not do an in list, let's do an anti-join, which scales also for Tyler's kind of tables. Because right now, depending on what query you do, you would see a pretty big in list expression.
What's it called? In list?
Yeah, this matched file filtering. The fourth one from the top. Yeah, this one. Yeah. But essentially the write PR takes a new logic that we can improve upon, and gets rid of the old file finds logic. Yeah, that's an important milestone. After this,
okay, so I hear you, Robert.
Yes.
I'm going to bring this back to what Steve is talking about. If you care about performance, the only thing that matters right now is killing eager snapshot.
And this is exactly so. We have two more things. So what's stopping us from killing eager snapshot? It's the existence of find files. Okay, with write is gone, and it's the use of delta table provider. Once we cut off the current delta table provider,
no, your DataFusion goggles, man.
No, it's the dependency tree. It's not DataFusion. It's a dependency tree that we have.
Yeah, but like the existence of the table provider does not. I mean, yes, there's the dependency on eager snapshot there, but it's not just that. Eager snapshot is wired like through so much. To where like
but I mean, I'm not saying eager snapshot is not wired through too much, but which parts of our code base assume that there is a cached state present? Because in most call sites, practically all the call sites I introduced for eager snapshot use file views. So the method that equivalently that also exists on snapshot, and that we could easily do also using the snapshot wrapper if we want to use that more for transition or rip it out entirely, right? So anything that depends on the existence of the state is a problem. And this is why the Delta table provider as it exists today is a problem, because it exposes file statistics on the table provider level. So before doing a scan, which means when we create the table provider, we already must have knowledge of all the files in the table. And we don't know any predicate yet that we could apply. So we do the worst case full log replay in order to implement this.
Yes.
Once that is gone, that's the last place I'm aware of that actually needs this data to be there. All the other call sites just call file views and can be well, there might be a couple of holdouts, but in terms of the big things, that's kind of the last thing that operates on the assumption. You can also look at log data, and the log data implements DataFusion statistics. So that's why the Delta table provider is the last thing that actually assumes some state, and it's being used in the merge operation. So after write, we have optimize. I think optimize is not a problem. I do have, well, let's get write done, but optimize doesn't have many usages of this. And merge, 50-50, I don't know. Merge is really, really complex thing.
Yeah.
The problem is if I start refactoring, I also want to get rid of data frame and stuff like this because of the session management stuff. But we should not, I'll try to not also refactor this really quick. But then we should be able to remove Delta table provider.
So I'm going to go back to the point that I was making earlier, Robert. Do the rest of us just sit on our hands?
No.
And wait for you to do this?
No, I'll I can't create issues. I'm just telling you this is what we need to get rid of eager snapshot.
But again, let's 5 of the most recent, I guess. What is this sorted by? Whatever this default sort is. These are all work in progress by Robbie Pack.
Yes.
And so, like, what? Aside from changing cargo toml to cut releases, what do I get to do?
Let's write it down. I am writing a document for a proposal how we can approach writes exactly to meet this ask. You can go ahead and try to refactor the merge function. I mean, I know it as specific as I say, right? It's not like I know this is exactly what we need to do. I just search Delta table provider and delete the import and see what goes red and fix it.
Okay, so let's say of these 3, which one can we get done, like right now?
Well, the bottom one, that's being superseded by the one in the middle.
Okay, so perfect.
Yeah, we can actually just close this.
I'm going to. I love closing pull requests by any means necessary. Send me more AI pull requests. I'll close those too.
So we can, if you go to migrate write operation, if we look at the test failures, I need to rebase this, but once we landed this, I should be a little less stiff. But if we look at the test failures, if you go into the unit test one, I think we can, like the top one. So
that's funny. No field name source.ci. Cool. And then this one.
Yeah, but that's Python stuff. This is usually related to we need to use unqualified table names when we set up the logical plans. This one I cannot reproduce locally. I don't know why. It works on my machine. I need to understand why. I don't know.
Okay, so let's see. This is 4119. All right. Ah. 419. Let's help out. Robbie. I wonder if I can just do a straight up rebase. Nope.
Actually, now you don't need to do a rebase. It's all already kind of, I think, rebased on, well, not the current, but it contains. I took the data validation one. I took that from there.
So works on your machine. That means it's a Mac.
Yes.
We're talking ARM or x86.
ARM.
Okay. This is operation rate tests. Okay. This is all relinking all of that DataFusion fun stuff.
But that's, I mean, one thing I did think about when writing kind of the design doc for new writes, or how we could evolve our writing logic.
Mm-hmm.
How much value is there in trying to write kind of an overall architecture document? The thing is, I do see a couple of patterns reappearing and have this sort of as a, let's say, hybrid process. With that, I mean, we describe some of the architecture that we have, and we also describe maybe in some parts the architecture we want to have, leave it sort of in draft, and use that to align on where stuff goes. But that's obviously kind of a non-significant amount of work, which I'd be willing to do if we see enough value in that, in having sort of a documentation like this, which of course would need to be, or would it suffice to or would we just say, let's do docs RS, just more and capture some of this there, because it's easier to maintain?
Doc strings, we can pull in markdown files in doc strings if that's what you're concerned for. So do a make setup dot. It's this. Let's see if DataFusion. It could be. It could be some interaction with the code coverage. I don't know if you're running just the test or running with code coverage.
So I run without code coverage.
Yeah, it's super slow. So I don't really ever run it locally. But there's the things that I've seen fail in CI but not fail locally tend to be, sometimes it's been code coverage, sometimes it has been other Rust flags that are being set, or the CI profile. So
yeah, I mean, but the thing that concerned me a little bit is this is kind of a correctness thing, right? This is validating that an operation actually does something, and if it's that easy to disable correct behavior, kind of that's a little concerning.
Yeah. that would be concerning. It's cargo test. We've got manifest path target, right? Blah blah blah. Features DataFusion. Busy
I mean,
compiling all the things.
you ran something earlier. Did that fail or not?
It did not fail, but I was running through next test with DataFusion. That is also something like the difference between running in parallel and not running in parallel. Like we've also had different states because of some global registry bullshit that we've done before. So this is running the slowest possible test, which is with coverage enabled, which means a full recompile of all the wonderful things.
I mean, talking about compiling, one thing that surprised me a little bit, and I don't know if that is kind of the intended behavior, but when we open up a new PR, there seem to be 0 cache hits for anything, even though it's like a minimal change of main. So it is kind of like the SCC, SSC, SCC cache,
SC cache. Yeah.
For instance, is that not something that gets shared in any way across branches or anything?
We would have to set up an S3 bucket or an Azure storage bucket. Like there has to be some centralized storage, but default SC cache will cache on the machine. And so if you have a single runner that's running multiple tests or multiple builds, then you will see that cache performance. And that's where we see the improvement there. In my environment, I run SC cache on S3 like machine in there. And so I get that reuse. Not when all these freaking Rust flags are changing or coverage gets computed.
Yeah.
But if we would want to do that, like GitHub caches are so broken. Like I wouldn't want us to rely on that. Like SC cache does really well, but we would have to have a bucket somewhere and be willing to use it. Which I could probably
if you push into a PR second build, those are beautiful, fast. I don't know. But the first build, especially when you run with like different compilation steps, yeah. Anyway, I was just wondering because we also delete all the caches kind of between PRs. If that also hinders reuse, and we did this to optimize memory usage.
Womp womp, filled up my disk. Let's see how big this how big is my target directory? I'm gonna go with 80 gigs. Let's see.
Yeah, sometimes. Also, I mean, obviously, I regularly run out of memory, and then you do a couple of cargo cleans, and I don't know, 160 gigabytes here, and
only 56 gigabytes. That's not as much as I thought.
No.
So this is going quickly because it's pulling all of these from, or a number of these units, it's pulling from the SC cache in there.
And that's a much nicer experience, by the way.
Well, yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm gonna have to build it. I actually got a quote from System 76 for an ARM64 build machine that I was going to switch to, because building on ARM is one of the things that's becoming more and more important. And cross-compiling from x86 to ARM sucks. It sucks quite a bit. But a new build, I would probably put like multiple NVMEs in there and do like RAID 10 across them. I'm glad, Steve, you're very happy with Windows 11.
Yes. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I read the same thing. Yeah. It's so good.
Um,
I'm happy that Steve is there because some ones we have Windows cases and somebody needs to reproduce them.
That's what. All right, look at all of these linkers. Link, 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 link. Each one consuming shit tons of memory. So what was it going to mention? The next big thing for me, once that DataFusion 52 thing came in, and this is why the write operation or like whatever, like the bull in the china shop of Robert changing everything up and down the stack. I want to mitigate that more and more because my next thing is forking the Arrow engine out of kernel so I can improve performance. Because the eager snapshot and the laughable performance of the Arrow engine are the two biggest things that are causing problems for me.
Yes, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, at least for eager snapshot. Let's see what we can do at the end with the eager snapshot. There's light at the end. I
actually think like the pulling that Arrow engine into a new crate in our repo. I actually think that's going to be fairly simple. I don't know if it's going to be fun, but it's going to be fairly simple to get better performance out of it. Because once we know that we're in a Tokio environment, then just pulling some of that join set stuff that you pulled from DataFusion down into that engine level, like that alone, I think is going to increase our parallelism a lot. And so that's the number one thing on my list is to pull that down. I'm gonna drop a link in the chat for Carly to share if she would be so kind to the discussion about this, where we'll see if it's an actual fork, but like Delta kernel, I haven't been able to make some of the community meetings lately, but if the Arrow engine moves out of Delta kernel into this Delta Lake engine, and like that's people are fine with that, I think there are other Arrow type optimizations that we will be able to make without a lot of
I can already mention one that's going to be fun.
Yeah,
because it's been with us. It's been the issue has been following us in all the DataFusion whatever stuff. But right now, I think the engine also makes assumption about everybody's favorite specific string types.
Yes, that is also the string view thing.
Yeah, and we can wire that through. And since it's kind of the question of how we want to do this, but we can just default to saying we always use string views internally.
Yeah. Well, regrettably, that did not reproduce the issue. What Rust version are you with?
I think I updated to the latest, but I had the issue before, 193.
Oh, is 193 out?
Yeah, but I also saw that with the previous. Well, no, I'm saying stupid things because I never saw it locally. But it also worked using the previous version of my machine.
What do we use? I think it's. Do we just use stable?
I think yes.
Yeah. That means we would be on 193, I think. Well, that's fun. A correctness issue that only causes problems in CI. What a delightful problem you have.
And the fact that it's a correctness issue also triggered me not to just ignore that test and say, yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah, don't. We should be ignoring less tests. Like we have a bunch of ignored tests that probably should come out of ignored right now.
And a bunch of them are supported now, by the way, also.
Mm-hmm. When do you think we can say column mapping is supported?
So my personal opinion would be after we migrated merge. So, or well, once we have the current write refactor in, we migrated optimize and we migrated merge. Again, optimize, I think, is very small, but then they all use the new table provider, and that's the thing that supports column mapping and deletion vectors.
Mm. Okay, so I'm gonna, where's my, I don't want to create issue from discussion. I'm gonna make a ticket since we're making tickets today. That puts it as a header, weird. One of the reasons why this is more important to me now than it was before is I've seen changes being made to that default engine that are driven by particular products, which is fine, but changes that are aligned with particular product needs are going faster into that default engine than other changes that are needed by Delta RS. And so I think it is probably best to break this out.
Yeah, and I mean, I think
needs are going to get represented there.
I think you mentioned it already, right? So we also have the opportunity to bring in our own optimizations there.
All right, and that's assigned to me. This will be an enhancement of an enhancement. All right, let's create some more while we wait for these tests. Okay, so Steve has that one. Create write transaction, that I took. This might be related to your work. This bug is also why I'm paying attention to the right work that you're doing.
Create write transaction.
Yeah.
Okay. What is that?
Don't you worry about blank. Let me worry about blank. That's what that one is. This one between you and Ethan, is this something Ethan's going to be taking? He didn't. Y'all had discussed this, but I don't know. I'd say
I would be very happy if he does.
Can I just like assign it?
I mean, ultimately, it's not a decision I can make.
I've assigned it to him. So.
All right.
Okay. Is this I don't know what this one is, but this is Python. Should be introduces, indices, introduces. I don't know. Thomas Frederik Hoek. Very Dutch. Well, they're willing to submit a pull request. It's been 2 weeks, Thomas. Come on. All right. Let's go look at other things. So that is, I took this one because the timeout on Robert elapsed. Ethan has this one. I'm going to mark this as this is a bug, I think, with such a silent false back.
I mean, this is one where I can also create an issue or maybe a discussion first. Ultimately, this boils down to the session management and what we can offer end users in that, right? So because on one hand, we should really be using their session if they have one. And there's one, and I felt really, really bad. Actually, you mentioned Corwin in the chat earlier, and I wanted to answer there as well with this file encryption parquet thingies, because I think we can become transparent to that by just we're pulling more and more off of this configuration from the session. So in many places we're not involved in parquet reading at all. We just wire through the session, and if we wire through the session correctly, I believe there is nothing that we need to do on the Delta RS side beyond that this transparently flows through to support this. And this obviously, however, requires some guidance because we need the session to have our planners, our node planners. I mean, several operations have like custom nodes, stuff like this.
Here's the thing about documentation is great. You should, if you have some documentation started, I think that is worth contributing.
I mean, first we need an issue because I don't know what those APIs should look like. That's what I meant to say. Kind of.
Well, do that.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know how possible this is. I mean, it might just have to be like a freaking grep. But we kind of shouldn't be allowing sessions to be created inside, like new sessions to be created inside of our, like once we're in the Delta DataFusion code. And I don't know how to prevent that.
I completely agree. I think the only way we can prevent it really is a code review. But
that's why I say like
agree.
a CI check, like or a test failing is a much better way to communicate that boundary than hoping that we all remember.
I mean, now that you mentioned it,
have read the docs.
We could write a bunch of, let's say, integration tests, and we can't cover all code path, right? But usually, if we create a new session, it's always within. No, I'm saying stupid things. Now, I thought we could just assign a session ID, do the operation. If we get back a data frame, we could see the session again. But no, that wouldn't stop anyone from using arbitrary sessions internally anyways. So yeah, no, it's not really helping us with anything.
So I'm going to add a label to this one. This is a buggy bug. Steve has that one, so that's fun. Implement limit push down for metadata only scans. Don't know what that means.
Actually, that one we can close. No. Sorry, we can't. We can't close it. Sorry. The thing that's already happening is we do metadata only scans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just don't respect any limits, and it's pretty easy to just say, yeah, just produce this number of rows, because we're producing constant record batches there, more or less.
Can we close this one? You already started this.
Well, I think for this we just need a new release where we delete Delta Ops. But well, maybe let's the session management, I think, is kind of a question also from exactly those APIs. Yeah, so maybe we build on that and discuss what the way forward for those APIs.
I haven't seen. Oh, another Unity bug. We love a Unity bug. Nothing excites Steve more than Unity catalog. This is interesting.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to look at that one. Delta Lake, hey, correct. Okay, well, this one's me, right? Delta Lake fails. Unexpected read performance. Oh no, I'm gonna assign to me. I have a pull request open for this one. This should be assigned to me. Actually, this is a Python. So this I got. Oh, don't quit. Then right till like fails when this might be fixed.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I discussed with Ion at some point. Ion.
I'll take this and I'll just reproduce it. And I'm pretty sure we've fixed this.
I mean, more generally, though, we have this two dataset API, and I think we do a check in there that we're not using deletion vectors or any of those features. But I feel like the dataset API is kind of... So DataFusion has this listing table, which is kind of the let's say, Hive table, Hive partitioned Parquet files, blah, blah, blah table. And I feel like the datasets API is exactly for those kind of tables. But that's just not what a delta table is, right? And it used to be very useful for us because there is some overlap as long as you don't go into too many features. But I don't know that we need to be able to produce datasets, to be honest, because you're not really getting anything unless you're saying it's so much better to read through PyArrow or what have you. But while there might be differences in read performance, I don't think that yeah.
I think I fixed this. I'm gonna ask the OP. What is this? Stygian. We're at time, so let's see here. Did Robert create any new issues?
No.
I don't think so. Did Robert merge any
But
pull requests? We did merge one pull request.
I'm also not able to multitask and type like you do. You know, I need a visual later. Now, yeah, we discussed some issues that I can extend.
Low passing delta.
And I'll do that.
Gonna do that. Deletion vector for vacuuming. Interesting. There's all sorts of fun stuff here in the backlog that needs to be evaluated. And sometimes I have time to go through this. So a lot of it's redundant, I think.
Yeah, and I added some of these to sort of the parent issues for deletion vectors, for column mapping, for the kernel scans and stuff like this. So there's some hierarchy in there.
My time to play is over. So Steve's got some spaghetti to support some Unity baloney, which is fun. What I would encourage you to do, Robert, if you have the time available, getting one of these out of the way. Like, we got to get one of these merged. But I'm going to cut a 1.4.1 release today because we have a bug that we just pushed out that we already have a fix for. So there's no reason not to push it.
Do we have time for one quick question? Because what I'm saying is, I don't know if I can get the right one today, but there's one bug where I think we may just assert the wrong thing. So we do imputation. When you add a new struct field, right now, what you're getting back is a top-level none. With the migrated code, what you're getting back is a struct with all none fields, all child fields being none. And this is in the case of schema evolution, right? So schema evolution, we added a struct field. Now we're reading the old data that doesn't have the struct field. Okay. Right now, it's a top-level none. And then in this PR, it's every child or every leaf has a none. And I don't know if that's dramatic or not.
Well, a struct full of nuns is not a none. So I don't know.
I do know. But it's also not clear to me saying a top-level none is a thing we should impute, that this is kind of the right choice. Problem is that's what we do right now, and that would be.
We love to use this word, and I'm never it's not a word in my lexicon. Okay, I don't know if impute is the word you're trying to.
Well, when I worked as a data scientist, we talked about data imputation, which is kind of adding missing data in data sets, and that usually was based on statistical distributions and stuff. So filling in mean mostly in records where you don't have things, but I know imputation as yeah, to fill the old values. I don't know how would you call it?
I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, that's what I'm trying to.
So we did schema evolution, right? We did schema evolution. We added a new field, struct. Yes? So now we're reading this table and we're reading pre-schema evolution files. We now need to add something for this new field that we don't have, right?
Okay, I see what you mean. You're like, what does a select including that column, that struct column look like?
Yes.
Yeah, this is not a quick question.
That's why I also didn't just want to rewrite the test and make it pass, but that's one of the last ones that's sort of not passing.
And the thing is, if we read back a struct full of nuns that is structurally different than a none, and for like what a reader would, I don't show me the test in Slack that's failing. I think in most cases, if there's a way to easily assert that a struct full of nuns is actually a null record, then that's fine. It doesn't have to be the is this none, X is none in Python, but the caller, I think, should be able to tell that it is a null record or null column value without traversing every member of the struct.
Well, that means top-level null, which is so why is that annoying?
Is this a Python test or a Rust test?
It's a Python test.
Okay, so.
But I mean, that behavior changes in Rust too, right? But let me
ask you, Robert, to create an issue that describes the problem we can land the migrate right. Like you can ignore it and ignore the test failure and create the issue for us to discuss this further. I think that's acceptable. I wouldn't want to include that code in a 141 release. So if it's behind this migrate right operation, then I'll cut a release before this comes in. And we don't have a Rust release planned today or tomorrow or anything. So
yeah, but when you say today, so your day just started.
My day did just start.
That means there are a couple of more hours where we can do some async alignment to see where this ends up. Because some of the stuff that landed on main actually, I think, made some things easier, like the bug fix that Iso contributed for the deletes. Yeah,
Robert, we are now 9 minutes past the time when I have scheduled.
Yes.
So thank you
for your quick
question. We will have to talk more in Slack and the issue tracker. Thank you for spending this